Hello, I'm Ellen Fanning and my guest today is Clare Porter. She's worked in the water sector for more than 20 years, first with the Australian Water Association, followed by Melbourne Water, the National Water Commission and most recently with Sydney Water. And the topic we'll be discussing today is the Channeling Change program. Thanks for joining us, Clare.
Thanks for having me.
So when did you get your start in the water industry?
Well, I was lucky enough to decide fairly early on in my career that water was where I wanted to work. And I went to the careers area at the university and I said to them, I need to find a job. And they said, what are you interested in? And I thought, I quite like water. So they gave me a book and I had a look under W for water, and there were two organisations listed. One was the Australian Water Association and the other one was Sydney Water. So I rang Sydney Water and I said, I'm looking for some work experience. And Sydney Water said, yep, no problems, come in for a couple of weeks, we've got a program that will support you. And then I rang the Australian Water Association and I got through to the executive director at the time, Chris Davis, and I said, I'm looking for a job. And he said, I think we can help you out. And that's when my journey in the water sector began.
What were your experiences like? Was it lonely being a woman in those years?
Well, yes, 20 years ago there weren't many females around. But the water sector has always been very supportive in terms of women who are coming into the sector. And over the years, it's been stronger and stronger, having the amount of women, strong, passionate women who are involved in the sector. My story is about turning that diversity into inclusiveness. It's about ensuring that the women who have been part of the sector for the last 20 years have a voice and use that voice. So one of my stories is that I went to an AWA function a couple of months ago, and I have worked in the water sector for 20 years, and I walked into the room and I was taken aback because all I saw were suits. And I thought, how can we be in this situation that 20 years later, I'm still walking into a room that's full of suits?
The only woman in the room.
There were about 5 of us out of 100. And the other thing I noticed, that apart from a female who was on the panel, all 5 women sat in the back 2 rows. And that was just one of those moments that I thought, we are getting the diversity thing right. We are getting women into the water sector, but we need to make sure that those women have got a voice, that they're part of the conversation and that they're asking questions and they're standing up the front and they're part of changing where the water sector can go.
Sometimes people think, well, if we've got enough younger women coming in, if we've got enough diverse faces coming in, somehow that will just trickle up over the course of years and nothing further need be done.
Yeah, and it's true. We do have a lot of young women that come into the sector. But not unlike a lot of other sectors, a lot of us leave to have families. And sometimes it's very hard to get the good jobs when you come back. Trying to balance being a mum, contributing to work, making it all happen is a challenge that many of us face. And quite often when you come back from your maternity leave, you don't get access to the good jobs. You want to try and do it all. At Sydney Water, I said, I love my career and I really want to have a career, but I also want to be a mum. And I had my GM at the time and an executive coach say to me, stop saying but, you can say and. So I'm excited about the opportunity of saying, I really want to have a career and I'm also a mum. And this is what we need to start focusing on within the water sector.
You're talking classically about leaning in, individual women leaning in.
That's exactly right.
What about the broader context? What do organisations have to do?
Yeah.
Because, I mean, you can lean in all you like, but if the circumstances aren't right, you'll just fall over.
I know. So there's flexible working arrangements, there's policies that organisations can put in place, but I honestly believe that it's led from the top. At Sydney Water, we've got a target of 40% women in leadership positions by 2020. And we started off at about 18, 19%, and in only a few years, we're already at 30%. And that's because we've had strong leadership. It's because we've encouraged the conversation. We've supported it with work practices that encourage flexibility. And this is a message of hope. It's a message of change. But it is an opportunity for all of us to get out of our comfort zone and do a presentation and ask questions and ask to be the MC and even arrange our own events. One of the challenges, I think, is that as a mum, you have already so much going on in your life. You know, you get up early, you organise the lunches, you make sure the school notes are out, you get the kids ready, you get them off to school. I think that there's a role that families can play, that it's not just the mothers taking that responsibility. You know, husbands play a really important role, and I'm seeing that so much more.
Finally, this program is not, channeling change is not just about women.
It's true.
It's
a
about
really
diversity, inclusion, equality. Why is it useful to focus on the gender piece when you're trying to achieve a whole range of outcomes for a diverse group of people?
It's so true. So the program is very much beyond just women, because when you talk about diversity, it's about age, it's about gender, it's about religious and cultural backgrounds, it's about disability and access. My story is that, and the way that I look at it is that women are like an indicator. If you can chunk it down and you can focus on getting it right for women, then other things will follow. So we need to make sure that diversity is not seen as a women's issue. We need to make sure that diversity is understood as getting differences of opinions, differences of thoughts and differences of experiences at the conversation and at the table.
And if you make those cultural changes for women, or you make those cultural changes for people of a non-English speaking background, then you're kind of fit as an organisation to make those changes more broadly.
It's part of the future, and it's where the water sector can really shine.
Lovely to talk to you, Clare.
Thank you.